There's 1 square foot of that entire gravel bar you can see behind me, all the way up around the corner, is literally stomped flat from bare feet. Bears' feet. Not humans. Not one human track over here. And the stomped bear trails coming down out of that bush were incredible. They still are. Should have sat here until dark. Who knows how many bears will come out eventually. I'll be back. But I want to see the rest of this river. So here we go. Show you guys some more of it. Here we go. Good morning, world. It's another one. Woke up alive again. Don't know how I keep doing this. I'm sure there's a bunch of us that ask that question daily, right? How the hell am I still alive? Now, what are we going to do? Besides hearing people, which is actually pretty important. It's funny, I was kind of having a few thoughts. I have a handful of people that I listen to when I can, like if I'm working here in the shop, working on my pickup, doing whatever I can to put on headphones, and I'll get my phone hooked up to the Wi-Fi, and I'll balance my phone outside somewhere where it has a direct shot to me in the headphones, and I can listen. And then I was trying to wonder just how much life changes from listening to these people who dedicate every single day of their lives, all day, to digging, fact-checking, I guess, and then sharing with the world. And I was trying to make sense of that and see if that's worthy of your time. And I was just wondering about it for a little bit. And I realized, yeah, it's definitely worthy of their time. I mean, that's what they want to do. That's what they're meant to do. A lot of people do it because they are concerned about society. And then obviously you can easily tell other people who just want to find that niche that gets them the views, that gets them the cake. Easy to sift through for me. Depends on what you're into. And then I'm trying to figure out, some of the topics that we all focus on in Lifetime right now currently, and what kind of a difference that makes for us. I guess what I was trying to get to for myself was with using my time. Is it worthy of my time to listen to people when I can? Is it worthy of people's time to keep telling the same things and pointing at the same things? And I've thought about it, I'm like, and when it's not in our control, when there's nothing in our control, all we can do is listen. But then, we voted the other day. And I'm like, yep, it is worthy. It is worthy. There's a lot that's not in our control, but it's worthy for us to gain knowledge so that we can possibly gradually make a difference by passing on that knowledge, right? And then this channel, especially for me, I'm trying to, somebody asked me, a friend of mine asked me the other day, he goes like, you put a lot of time into that, don't you? I'm like, well, not really. Well, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. It's a couple hours, maybe an hour a day or something like that. An hour and 20 minutes a day, big deal, right? But with that 1 hour and 20 minutes a day I donate here, that's an hour or more of time that all you donate here, especially the people that contribute their truths. I still got to get my tooth fixed. I'm all so conscious about smiling or whistling through my tooth while I talk. But anyway, it's worthy. It's very worthy, right? I mean, it's this topic, the dominant topic we talk about here, obviously we have no control over it. I think we'd probably agree with that one. Of all the different points, semi-facts and facts we point out with these dominating topics here, we can all go back and forth, disagree, agree, hum, ha, wonder. But one thing I think we could probably all agree upon is it's nothing is in our control when it comes to the topic that dominates this channel. That's what I'm saying. It's out of our control. But the good thing is, the positive is, to back up and justify what we do here is at least we give comfort to literally hundreds of thousands of people that wouldn't be able to find it anywhere else. And we also give valuable, true knowledge to the world if they want it. And that's absolutely valuable. And we can also reclaim thousands of people's quality of life in a way, reclaim their passions, and help people get back out in the real world and live it 100%. But at least, it's this. What comes along with this topic of these people, these beings, and all this other shit going on in the real world, it's out of our control. If, when, or what goes down, but at least we can be armed with that knowledge and not be so taken back and so put in shock, possibly eliminate the potential of PTSD annihilating someone's life. We could possibly do that. And we can go through life a little more armed with true knowledge and pass that on to people we care about and people who are interested and curious, right? Maybe that was a worthy babble. Maybe it wasn't. I was just trying to... I was realizing that many of the topics that I follow online when I get a chance, everything's out of my control. All I can do is listen. And I listen a lot. I've been listening for over a few handful of years. And I guess I'm just coming to a point where I'm trying to make the best with the time that I have left here during this lifetime, and make sure I'm doing the right thing and I'm utilizing that time correctly. I think I am. How about you guys? Do you know what I mean? Like, are you wasting time of life places where you probably shouldn't? I think where a lot of us are guilty with that. Sitting in front of the TV watching television. I don't think we get much more of a waste of time than that. Oh, sorry. Teach their own. Now, moving along. No more babbling. But, I hope everybody realizes I do not and have never have, and I'm not big on receiving gifts. I don't know why. Probably a childhood thing, for sure. But I do not encourage people to send gifts to me. Makes me feel awkward. Appreciate it. It makes me awkward, and I'm not into gifts. But somebody sent something to Sarah and I. She's all over the gifts. Why not? I'm like, well, you hadn't opened it. But anyways, somebody very skilled who asked to remain under the radar, and I respect that, no problem, my man, sent me these items that he made. Now look at this. First look at it, it's like, I guess that's one of those butter or dip things, right? And also this fishing lure. And at first glance, I'm thinking, that's kind of different. I don't know what kind of fish I would throw that at, or hook's a little small, And then when I read the letter, These are frickin' handmade out of pine cones. What? That is a pine cone. How crazy is that? It's a pine cone. Is that cool or what? And this is a pine cone. Originally. How the hell did you or any... How do you figure... I'm gonna make that pine cone into a fishing lure. Said nobody. What a crazy thing to do. What an awesome skill. Very, very cool. And I understand you want to stay under the radar, and friends of yours decide you should sell them. Well, you know, somebody wants to buy them off you and you enjoy doing it. It's a win, right? Making a living off something you love to do. That's winning in life. But would I be absolutely curious to see, how the hell did you do that? I mean, that would be a YouTube video that I would believe would go absolutely bonkers and people saw how you did that. I'm trying to guess. I'm thinking, I don't know. You covered it in resin, I'm guessing, and then put it in a lathe and formed it and then re-dipped it or something like that. That's what I'm guessing. But there you go. What a kind thing to do. Sending that item that took you time of your life to create and sending it to us. Very, very appreciative. Appreciated that. Very cool. Shared. Whether you want me to share that item or not, oh well. I shared it. I didn't share your name. And huge respect back to you, my man. Thank you so much. If you ever get around to it, maybe share that process online. And why not? If you can do that and make a few bucks, there's nothing wrong with that. You love doing it. It's a win. Now, I probably have 5 million things I wanted to talk about originally, this morning as usual. Now let's just get into it, shall we? Mark, this is Red. More knowledge, more true knowledge from brave, honest people. Coming at you this morning, Friday, October 25th. This is titled 1982 Encounter. Hi, Steve. My name is Larry Rushing. Larry, I hope I'm allowed to share your name. I live in Alpine, California, 30 miles east of San Diego. In 1982, my then wife and I went camping at a small reservoir. I was an avid bass fisherman. Upon reaching our campsite, we set up camp. I noticed while staking the tent, the sumac tree behind my tent was torn apart. I wish I was familiar with sumac trees. I'm not yet. We also met our neighbors camped next to us, and they said you wouldn't believe what happened here last night. 2 college girls were screaming and yelling and threw all their gear in the car and left before he could get down there. Then I told them, you wouldn't believe what we just witnessed. As we stood looking at the view over the lake, we heard a dog barking madly. It caught our attention, and we looked to the north and saw a creature running down the trail from the campground. I thought it was a man on a motocross bike. Then I realized there's no motor sound. Later that day, we hiked down to the lake with the people we met to the lake edge to find tracks. On the way down, we found a hole in the bank on the trail, scattered with trash inside. A hole in the bank on the trail, scattered with trash inside. Upon reaching the water's edge, we found a tree we called the cubby hole, for we all could sit underneath it while looking across the lake. 5 of these creatures stood up from behind the reeds. We all just sat there. The creatures were staring at us, and then they just left. One moment they were there, then gone. I'll read that again. We all just sat there. The creatures were staring at us, then they just left. One moment they were there, then gone. And they were all grayish in color. Okay, that mean, did they walk away? Did they run away? Did they jump up and sprint? Did they go up? Did they go parallel? Or did they vanish? They were all grayish in color. Later that night, as we sat there, the dark ones came to the edge of the lake and drank the water. They cupped it in their hands just like you and I would. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. We were terrified. There was a group of them. Later, as we sat there, we could hear them breathing. Wow. It was dark, and now, it was dark now, and Brian stood up, walking right up to the reeds. I went with him. We stood there facing the reeds, and Brian said, "We're not here to harm you." And I said the same. The reeds were parted, and this creature yelled in my face. We both fell to our knees, and I bowed my head straight down. We went back to the girls. They were crying, and I didn't think we would get out of this alive. We sat back down, and I noticed to my right, one was standing on the trail, and it looked like a tree. I wanted to prove this was happening to myself. I ran towards it and flew the last 6 feet, arms outstretched to grab something, anything. It ran straight into the reeds at an incredible speed. I hiked to the end of the lake alone, and in the canyon I saw lights of different colors. Now it was 5 a.m. It was becoming sunrise, and we hiked back to our campsite. Upon leaving, I went to the ranger office and asked if anyone reported any strange things at this campground, and she never looked at me, shook her head no, and I left. She's a liar. Full-on liar. 2 weeks later, my brother-in-law and I hiked into this area from the opposite side. We nearly reached the peak. When we stopped, I told him I was having a feeling of "get out of here, you're not welcome." Months later, I hiked to the bigger reservoir and found human-looking footprints around a mud puddle. I have much more to say about this. Not a day goes by, I don't think, of my encounter, and have not camped since, though I'd love to. Thanks, love your show, and appreciate the opportunity to tell my encounter. Sincerely, Larry Rushing. That is a holy shit story, Larry. I mean, everything that happened in there has been reported by somebody previously, but that many of these people? I think I've had 3. Definitely had a few of them numerous times, but 5? Holy shit. That would scare the shit out of anybody. And looking like a tree. That kind of creeps me out in the way, because as soon as I hear about that, people saying I saw it was a tree, my brain goes instantly to my coastal spot where I hunt deer late, where I was living earlier. And I have this big, like right across the valleys where a whole bunch of stuff goes on, and I have this weird mental thing that has me somewhat convinced that, oh, they stay on that side, I stay on this side, and that's why I haven't had anything go on this side. And right on their sides where I videotape those lights way up in the mountain, etc., etc., etc. But anyway, where I hunt, it's steep, rocky, moss-covered bluffs with huge, mature fir timber that's never been logged. And sometimes I wonder, I've mentioned before, if I actually just sat there, took my focus in my mind off of looking for that piece of a deer body in the timber, and if I started gazing at all of the timber, I could see individual trees and gazing and gazing and gazing. I wonder if that would all of a sudden, like those pictures? You see those pictures in the mall in the 90s, I think it was. Just look like a bunch of fuzz, and you're supposed to stare at it and stare at it from 3 or 4 feet away, and all of a sudden, boom, then the picture comes to view, right? But as you walk by it, just looks like the static on a TV channel picture. And sometimes I wonder how long it would take for any of us to sit in mature timber that's never been logged and just sit there all day long and start gazing at a tree, pick one out with binoculars and see what happens. But I haven't done it yet because I'm not really into that. Not where that is. Not where I go. It's a couple hours, 2.5 hours to get out of there. And all of a sudden you realize this huge fir tree has hair. And it's been standing there watching me the whole time. Now, I'd pass. Maybe one of you guys wants to do that. Okay, this is an older one. I've been going through my inbox. When I have a certain amount of time I put into going in the past inbox, looking for some of the emails that I've lost, which is 2,500 of them from my notes on my old phone. So we have a mixed bag, recent and past emails that haven't been read. Just this weekend's Taos email. Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for all you do and stand for. My name is Clint. When I was 12 years old on an elk hunt in northern Utah with my dad and his buddy. We were leaving camp the first morning for light. You know that time where you can see the skyline of the mountainsides? Well, we were suddenly shocked when about 200 yards away on the skyline, two very large things ran out of the tree line and over the top in about 2 to 3 minutes on two legs. Since I've hiked the same trail they used and it takes me 30 to 45 minutes on a good huff, that was all I needed. And I spent a lot of time trying to understand them since. I'm 42 now. Most of my life since that day has been very hard to spend time doing what I love, hunting and being in the mountains, because I know what's out there. The past 5 years I've been doing everything I can to force myself to enjoy the forest again. It's been very hard. But I'm finally comfortable back where I love to be. Over these 5 years, I've had several encounters. Some good, with a feeling of peace. A couple very bad, with the feeling of get the hell off my mountain. This weekend, I had one that I'm not really sure how to take. Friday night, my friend and I were sitting by the campfire and suddenly heard a yell from the trees, sounding like Hoa. Or Hoa, question mark. So it's caps lock. Howaa, question mark. Hoa? It was about 11:30. And we looked at each other and both said, what the F was that? No reason anyone would be in this area at that time of night. We shrugged it off. And about 5 minutes later, we could hear rocks being smacked together. Not real fast, but kind of like a clock ticks. At that point, I was pretty sure what we were dealing with. I got up, I walked to the tree line, and I said, in as calm of a voice as I could muster, hey buddy, we don't mean any harm, and things are okay. Thinking about it now, I'm not really sure why I did that. I turned back and started my way back to my chair by the fire. I was almost there when a rock, about 2 inches in diameter, landed on my left side and rolled past my buddy, who, when I looked at, his eyes were the size of silver dollars. I told him that we weren't in danger, and this is just something they do to let you know they are around. Nothing else happened, but about 10 minutes later, he convinced me it was time to hit the trailer for bed. And as we were getting up early to elk hunt, I think he was shitting his pants, and I know he didn't get much sleep that night. Anyway, I just thought I would share this. Once again, thanks for what you're doing. And the location is North Slope Daggett in Utah. Thanks, Steve. Right on. Thank you, man. I hope you're still here watching. If you are, I'm really curious to know how your life is going with what you love to do. And if you could share that with us, because a lot of people here are listening are probably in the same position you're in, or worse, and they could use some info on how you've been overcoming it, what else has happened, and how your time in the outdoors is going, you know? So, I really appreciate that email. Really appreciate it. All right. Have we read this? I don't know. We're going to find out. I'm going to mark this as read in the notes here. Two memories, 25 years apart, and only 200 yards from each other. Good day. First, thank you for taking your time and allowing the public a place to share their encounters with an audience that does not judge you. Well done there. I understand there are exceptions, but nonetheless. I shared an email with you about 2 encounters a month ago, and I was wondering if there was any way to find out if you shared my experiences. I appreciate your channel, excuse me, and you're the only page I follow. As I mentioned previously, I am a fishing guide in Illinois, and I've hunted my entire life. I have a couple questions this time, and my most frightening moment in my life. My first question is, do you believe you were chosen to have an encounter? I don't know. It's a tough one, right, you guys? I mean, how could I be the one to decide whether or not I was chosen? That's almost a question for the being that I saw the first time in a way, right? I mean, how do I? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe because for a while there, I'm wondering what the hell am I doing? Why me? I mean, I was only trying to promote hunting, true hunting knowledge, because of all the douchebags I guided on TV, and I wanted everybody out there to know the truth and have the same skills I have and other fellow guides. That's how I started this shit. And then all you started hounding me about whether or not I seen or knew about Bigfoot. And then finally I caved and I said, yeah, seen one. I mean, obviously that in normal times, that would have been probably the worst thing I could have done for my credibility, right? For my original goal at hand. So, obviously I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but how did I get here? Was I chosen? Shit, I don't know. I'm not the guy to ask. I don't know. A lot of you are probably going to have an opinion and say, you damn right you were chosen. You were chosen. I don't know. I don't know, because I have the choice. I had the choice of acknowledging what I saw. I had the choice of pretending it didn't happen. You know what I mean? So that was my choice. I had the choice of whether or not I was going to admit it publicly to all of you. I had that choice. I don't think I was chosen I wasn't chosen and told to admit it. I don't know. Who knows? I'm going with it. I just go with my gut anyway. My gut says to keep doing it, so I keep doing it. Next, do you believe if you have one encounter that you are more apt to have more experiences to come? 110% for certain. Absolutely. It brings to surface your true my brain's farting sometimes. Your skills. What we really can see and be aware of, it brings that to the surface, right? And then there's no way out of it. And then you start to see more and listen more and observe more. So that brings more experiences to light, for sure. Sidebar, I've seen 2 mountain lions in the woods in central Illinois, and people still do not believe me on that, let alone my other experiences. People are a funny creature, right? And here's the most scared I have been in my life. I am a barred owl fanatic. I'll often be in the woods late at night and call to the owls for fun. At the time of my scare, it was around 2 a.m. Central Standard Time, and I was within 50 feet of my apartment in the woods behind the complex. I was calling for owls and having terrific conversations with a couple of local birds. I was sitting on the ground on a slope and very relaxed. It was my usual spot to call because the creek was only yards away from me. Then it happened. Out of nowhere, something large and on 2 feet charged me from the high grasses in front of me. At that time, I yelled as loud as I could, "Hey!" Nothing happened. It got closer and louder, and again I yelled, "Hey!" Then it continued closer, and the third time yelled, "Hey!" and it stopped. I could never see anything, but whatever it was, it had a presence that was overwhelming. I was still sitting on that slope, and it seemed like time was standing still until I could get on my feet. Once I got a good footing and took off and ran as fast as I could, and I was too afraid to look back because I was unsure if my life was going to end right then. I think about all 3 of those experiences almost daily. And the weird thing is, when I was a young kid and saw that one within feet of me, I wasn't scared at all. The other 2 encounters I had left me frightened to the point of considering to almost give up being in the woods at dark without a firearm. Hope this reaches you in good health. And I thank you again for the time you put into this. I'm waiting to see if you're able to make revisions. Okay, this is older. Just refer to you as Ted. Okay, what's in the beginning? Did I read your name in the beginning? All right. I guess at that time of saving this... Oh no, this came in as email. Here's his original email that he attached, I believe. Hold on, you guys, sorry. Okay, here we go. Another email attached to the bottom of this one. Came in the same email. First, please refer to me as Ted if you decide to share my encounters. Thank you for that. I've been an avid fourth-generation outdoorsman my entire life. I've always wanted to share my story with someone like you, an avid outdoorsman. At the time of this encounter, I was 10 years old. I was squirrel hunting in August with my 410 shotgun that was my great-grandfather's on a piece of wildlife management area. I had hiked and hunted in those woods on my own and with my grandfather for years before, and I still use those woods after my experiences, but I have never been in those woods without reminiscing that memory from so long ago. It was around noon, and I was on my second trip to the woods of the day. I just shot a gray squirrel with my single-shot 410 and went to pick it up, and upon picking up the dead squirrel, I turned around and noticed something walking towards me. Not a word was exchanged, and all I did was raise up my squirrel to show this thing my harvest. The reaction this thing did was to open its mouth and showcase its teeth. The teeth were extremely wide and oversized. I never said a word, and then this thing walked off through the timber. The entire encounter lasted about 2 minutes. This thing was about 5 feet tall, very thick, had matted hair covering itself. The head was pointed with a gradual slope, no smell at all, dark facial skin with sunken eyes, and lastly, this thing was calm, and I never felt threatened at all. I told my grandpa and dad about my experience, and they deducted it was an older African-American with odd camouflage. Oh my God. People are funny, right? Fast forward 25 years or so. I was bow hunting. 250 yards from the squirrel ridge, I had my encounter, and the second strangest thing happened to me. It was about 15 minutes to sundown, and I could hear something walking through the dried corn rows. And then a gust of wind blew from me to the cornfield where the noise was coming from. Immediately at 40 yards, whatever it was stopped in its tracks. At that moment, I felt like something was looking right at me, and my nerves were spiked. There was no movement or sounds for almost 10 seconds, which seems like an eternity. And then all of a sudden, something ran off with such force, violence, and speed I was immediately concerned. I stayed in the tree stand until dark, and then walked back to my grandparents' house, which is about a mile total. The entire time walking back in the dark, I had a feeling that I was being followed / stalked. I've been in those woods hundreds of times since, and not one thing happened I could not explain. These 2 moments in my life are very curious to say the least. I continue my journey for answers, and in my quest I have found similar stories and descriptions to my experiences, which makes me feel better. I do believe what I saw was something I have never seen since, but with all my heart and honor, I believe I was supposed to have had that experience. Lastly, thank you for taking your time to allow people like me to share my story with. Ted. Holy shit, Ted. Welcome to the club. You've been a member for some time. I don't know what's going on, in life, really. What are we... I don't know. A lot of us are given choice to do a whole bunch of shit, but are we chosen for specific encounters? Are we chosen for specific experiences? I don't know, because if that's the case, then if we find out who made those choices for us, I'd like to kick them in the nuts for a handful of them in the past. Right? Maybe. Possibly. I don't know. Appreciate that email, man. Mark this one as read. Sasquatch, close to home, is the title of this email. Dear Steve, I stumbled upon your YouTube channel quite by accident, and I'm seriously happy that I did. Good news. I just said that. Good news. This is the first time in about 50 years that I've opened up my mouth and finally felt safe enough to tell my tale. That's super good. This is all your fault. But really, thanks, eh? I grew up in a small gold mining town about 70 miles from Lillooet. Backyard. Where there's a lot going on. In the Bridge River Valley. I think I might have read this, but I'm going to read it again. Fairly isolated. I was a brownie, and our little troop had planned an overnight excursion to a historical cabin on a very isolated lake. Very early the next morning before sunrise, I awoke and desperately needed to visit the outhouse. It was very, very creepy. Not a breeze stirring, not a sound. No morning birds chirping, nothing at all. When I'd finished, I was considering the 50-yard dash back to the cabin when the hairs on my neck stood up. Instinctively, I held my breath and felt as if someone was watching me. I was standing at the edge of the shore of the lake, and my eyes shot to the opposite bank. Not very far away, as I saw a dark mound by the water. I stood froze as the mound stretched and unfolded itself. My mind was clicking so fast, trying to acknowledge what I was looking at. Even at 9 years old, something told me this was a very special moment. I gasped out loud to catch my breath. And this is when he, I think, turned and looked at me. Very gracefully, he, I think, eyed me for no more than a moment and turned to saunter back into the tree line. With the snap of only one branch, he was gone. I made my way back to the cabin and never told a soul about what I saw. So shook was I. Excuse me, another revelation came to mind, and I knew for sure. When I was smaller, I used to have night terrors of some large animal screaming in the night. When I asked my father what it was, he, being a gold miner, said, "Oh, that's just the air whistling through the hoist." After hearing the audibles on Bigfoot, I now know exactly what I heard and gave validation to what I saw. I don't get the night terrors anymore, but let me tell you, when I first heard the audio, I believe it's called the Sierra tapes, I had the most unbelievable case of deja vu. My heart started pounding real bad. I've had 2 heart attacks already. I didn't need another. My mind instantly flashed back, like way back. I knew I had heard those voices and those screams before. I felt sick to my stomach, and yet somehow relieved. I wasn't imagining this. And no, Dad, it wasn't the hoist at the mine. And now I'd like to pursue hypnosis to see if there was anything else I had buried deep down. My lifelong fascination with these beings means something. Thanks for poking this bear just enough to regain some sanity back regarding the subject. Keep doing what you're doing. It's working. All right. You're not the only one from around there, Goldbridge Bray, Lauren, to email in, that's for sure. And just so you know, where I had my arrow returned to me in the snow was just over the hill from you, and on the downhill slope of the Hurley, on the left side. But across and up, but within view of the Hurley right there. Who knows, maybe it's the same one. And then just up to the right is where I had a couple of them knocking on trees and I was trapping wolves. There you go. What do we got here? Got another one. Strange lake dash creature and a plea for your help. Recent. I think, yeah, recent. Hello, Steve. I know deep in my bones there are tons of things in this world that we have been told were just stories. Oh yeah, no shit. Excuse me. I love listening to everyone's experiences and being able to share my own without feeling like everyone thinks I'm crazy. Thanks so much for creating this venue for all of us. It's too easy, my man. I think you're man. What do we got? Yep, too easy, my man. Yeah, too easy. And I think you probably could possibly agree with me by now. Once you become aware of these realities, everyone else becomes freaking crazy real quick. Real quick, like. For me, anyway. That being said, I've seen some things I've seen some of these just stories with my own eyes. And have found proof of others, which I have partly shared with you. While listening to other experiences that have been shared with you, I have been reminded of other things I've seen that my brain couldn't understand at the time. I recently wrote in about something that looked like a 15-foot tall stick bug. And after hearing the sighting that Gonzalo Chavez shared with the club, I'm starting to think it may have been a skinwalker, which I was not aware of at the time. One strange experience I had was at a small lake about 30 minutes from my hometown in Indiana. The lake is owned by a very well-known worldwide corporation that specializes in building engines. I'm not sure if this detail holds any significance or not, but wanted to share just in case. I've been fishing a small dam for over an hour, and it was starting to get dark. I heard some noise far out in the water and started focusing on it, which took my attention away from my immediate surrounding. I couldn't find the source of the noise I heard, not even a ripple in the water. Instantly, my attention snapped back to an area close by where a 3-foot by 3-foot by 6-foot area of what I thought was land had quietly moved toward the water and was now sinking into it. As I watched this thing finish creeping into the water, I saw it slowly and almost soundlessly move out towards the center of the lake, and inch by inch it continued to submerge while moving forward, which made it clear this was not a chunk of dirt that had broken off of the bank and fallen into the water. I watched the last 3 feet of this thing go under. It looked like dirt covered in grass, and even had a few dandelions and white orchids on top of it. The flowers were the last thing I saw go under. I was only 11 years old, and this freaked me out, so I packed up and left immediately. My mother said it must have been a turtle, but it had to be bigger than a Volkswagen Beetle if that were true. I was extremely curious to know what it was, but I never fished that lake again for a reason I don't understand. Right there, you wouldn't get me on that lake. No way. Now that I think about it, this might have been the reason I mostly quit fishing. I honestly don't remember what made me decide that I didn't like it anymore, and all I know is that I still love fishing and would find opportunity to do it a couple of times a week up until this experience. Have you seen anything like this, or has anyone shared anything similar with you? I'm looking forward to hearing more and more of the experiences people share through you. Hit the comment section below, you guys. Hit it, or email me to answer this, man. All right, now he's left, I don't know, a handful of paragraphs, and he says, this part is for you only. Please do not read aloud. Back in a minute. All right. A little confusing for me, but if you need help from me, send me another email, all right, man? Let me know exactly what you need for me to help you out, all right? And we'll take it from there. Okay, where was I? Back to what we're doing here. What am I doing? What am I doing? How much time do I got? I think I gotta go, actually. I think I gotta get ripping. I got a lot I gotta get done. My time's ticking. I have a trailer out there completely covered in burnt out wire and old fencing and barbed wire. I gotta take that to the recycle place. Bunch of other shit, and then I gotta drive an hour and a bit to go get some cedar siding that I'm gonna put on the chicken coops to try to make this place start matching up a little bit, and a bunch of other chores to get done before I head up north, which is coming on fast, and there's a lot of snow up there already. It's gonna be cold. I can't wait. And so there, I'm rambling. Sarah still has. Sarah, she's shipping these around the frickin' planet. They're around the globe. 4 flavors of those. There you go, share it. I almost got in trouble yesterday because this hat that I'm wearing is one of my favorite ones. and she's packaging and shipping all you guys' stuff yesterday. She goes, I'm two hats shy in my inventory. And I'm like, I'm like the kid that broke the neighbor's window and isn't saying anything. What do you mean? Well, that hat that you're wearing, I'm missing 2 of them, and they've been ordered. They ordered them off the store, and I'm like, that's weird. Maybe you should order a bunch more. I'm guilty. How do I not? Her little shelf's right there. When I get my hat covered in blood or whatever from fishing, getting dirty or covered in motor oil, working on my truck or whatever, and I just go grab another one. Forgot to tell her. So anyway, if this is the one you're after, they're gone. And but she's ordered more. All right, and there's a whole bunch of other ones in her store anyway. They're pretty cool. I just thought I'd add that little funny that went down yesterday. Whoops. Not babbling, rambling. I got to get going. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Get it to me. Get it to the world, all right? Don't be afraid of each other anymore. There's nothing to be afraid of. You're going to be dead soon. Right? And soon might mean 50 or 100 years from now. But either way, it's soon. It's coming. So don't waste your time. Do something you love to do, especially this weekend. It's Friday today. Please, please, please do what you love to do this weekend. Even if it's for an hour. Whatever. Just do it. If you don't, you're losing, all right? You do what you love to do and take somebody with you, especially a kid, and pound it into them what they're supposed to be doing in this lifetime. I better go before I start rambling, babbling. Have a great weekend. If I don't get back on here, make sure you have a great weekend.